So what's been happening is this coordinated, countrywide, nationwide coordinated attack on the peaceful protesters by a bunch of, I don't know, brain-dead cops macing pregnant women and 84-year-old ladies and hitting college kids with batons. And
you've never seen a baby used as a weapon, obviously, Jimmy.
You know what? I haven't.
Well,
not one still.
Then why
in the
did you
womb.
hold your tongue until you've seen a baby shoot out of a woman and kill a cop?
You know what? I should bite my tongue. Thank you, Paul. That's why you're here. Okay, so now.
And the batons they hit them with, did they steal them from the Philharmonic?
Oh, I don't think so, Frank. So here's billionaire Mayor Bloomberg. Millionaire Mayor Bloomberg telling us how suppressing free speech is the responsible thing to do, and some more perfectly reasonable reasons why he had to evict the Occupy Wall Street protesters.
Some have argued to allow the protesters to stay in the park indefinitely. Others had suggested that we just wait for winter and hope the cold weather drove the protesters away. But inaction was not an option.
I like how he frames it, either way. The important thing is we have to get rid of these people. We all know we have to get rid of them. Some people say just wait for the winter. But inaction is not an option. We got to get rid of these people now. And you know why? Because all my billionaire friends were laughing at me at the Billionaire Club. And I can't have this, okay?
Jimmy,
hang on, there's a little bit more to what he has to say. Hold on.
We could not wait for someone in the park to get killed or to injure another first responder before acting.
Those protesters' lives were in danger because, the mayor and the cops really wanted to kill them.
Very angry at them.
Very angry. And the park is for everybody to enjoy, especially people who like things the way they are.
Exactly.
Okay?
Yeah. Well, they need to clear the protesters out because I can tell you the awkwardness of poor people having to watch the shuttling of bags of money in and out of a building is very awkward.
It's very awkward. And when he was saying we had to prevent the murders of innocent people, I think he was meaning like the rest of the ruling class, which always gets it when a revolution happens. All right, is that who he's talking about?
Sooner or later, yeah.
Sooner or later. Also, I think he went to add also this protesting in the park stuff is really starting to catch on. So we got to get rid of it. So, yeah. So when someone asked him, so it's all about safety for Mayor Bloomberg. He said it's all about safety.
Well, why doesn't he let them? He owns like 5 homes. Why doesn't he put them up in one of his homes if he's so concerned about their safety?
So he's saying all this. So someone said, what safety? What are you talking about? What first responders were injured? Have there been any reports of people being? And here's what he said to that.
There have been a number of everyday small either accusations which are hard to prove when the police can't even get there to see what's really going on.
Huh.
So nothing.
He couldn't. So nothing. They had not one documented.
So he's basing his actions on hearsay from Fox News, basically.
And you can't even document them because when the cops tried to, you can't even. So there were rumors of accusations of incidents of heaven knows what, and this was starting to lead to widespread gossiping. So we had to.
Yes, which you can't have.
Yeah. So, I just decided to throw everybody out of the park first and explain it all later.
Yes. And this is how the far right gets away with a lot of what they do is they preemptively they create these rumors that they need to preempt.
Yes.
The Iraq War. Yeah. They're trying to build a case for a war with Iran, or at least attacking their nuclear capability. So they just create this storm that then they are the savior.
And I guess changing our financial system is not the option to deal with it. That wouldn't work.
No, you couldn't do that. You have to find
inaction is good there. Inaction is perfect if there's,
You have to find a way to, you can't change. You can't actually do something that would be constructive for our society. You just have to find a way to shut the people up who are pointing out. It's very inconvenient to have people pointing out the screwy things that are happening in our economy right in the middle of the financial center of our economy, right? So that's you got to get rid of them. So, okay, now I wanted to read very quickly from my Facebook page. I posted an article about the police brutality in Seattle where they were macing pregnant women and 84-year-old ladies. And because that's what when... Anyway, so this guy stops by and says, well, Jimmy, a friend of mine is undercover in Seattle. He has his men spending plenty of time with these nonviolent people. He says the talk amongst them has and is violent. with a want to escalate towards violence towards innocent businesses who have nothing to do with the Wall Street situation. If things do not play out the way they want, they're going to use violence. Plenty of drug taking, 2 deaths already down there, and an obvious recruiting of those not so mentally sound into the movement. What I'm asking you is, what do they want to accomplish, and what do you think they will accomplish? So that was this guy.
I think that's a fair question. I don't think that justifies them shutting protests
So
down.
what I said was, well, John, a friend of mine is also undercover inside the police department, and he says all they talk about is bashing nonviolent protesters' heads in and macing old ladies and pregnant women. And it's not just in Seattle, it's all over the country. And it turns out they actually have acted on these plans. I've seen videotape after videotape of cops beating the living crap out of nonviolent protesters, pepper spraying them, tear gassing them, even shooting a canister at an Iraq veteran's head and crushing his skull in. And then the people tried to give medical aid to the downed veteran. The cops threw a concussion grenade at them, which exploded a foot from his head. I've heard that the government was even planning on blacking out the press when they moved in to kick some ass. And then, son of a bitch, the government blacked out the press in New York, just like in the scary movies. So thanks for scaring me with your inside info, but even the BS stories about what the protesters might do don't sound half as bad as the crap the cops have already done repeatedly on video. So that was kind of like my discussion.
I didn't see that post because I was looking at all the porn that was on Facebook this week.
Okay, so Paul, you had...
Well, I was just going to say, one of the things that I wish that people in this movement would do is stop treating it like it's Woodstock and the chance to hang your freak flag, because it takes momentum away from the movement, and it delegitimizes anybody who hasn't decided yet how they feel about it. Because I think a lot of America is probably one way or the other with it at this point, but there's probably also a lot of people that haven't decided. And seeing you walk nude, smoking a joint around the park is not helping the cause.
There's a lot of nudity.
There's been some.
Shot on I thought was very good though.
Yeah.
Is there enough nudity to warrant me making a trip?
Well, that's why the cold is going to, I guess, put in it's all the nudity, right?
Yes. So, I'm Paul. I hear what you're saying. When I went down to Occupy LA, it didn't make me encouraged.
It didn't, me neither.
Because I expected to see those people. I expected to see people, the patchouli oil and the hippies and what have you. And not that I disparage those people, but I expected to see a lot more people who looked like me, and I didn't. And maybe it was because it was a time of day I went or whatever, but I don't think Occupy LA is the same as Occupy New York or the same as Occupy Seattle. I think that those, or Occupy Oakland, I think that those are different than the Occupy LA right now anyway.
Yes, okay.
Right now. I think if there was police action against the people in Occupy LA like there were in other cities, I think you would see a lot more people who look like us going down there every day.
Yeah.
But they haven't. The cops have been great in LA as far as they don't do anything. Right. They just let them do whatever they want, which is nice. They're not hurting anybody. And they don't seem to be making a difference in LA because no one goes downtown. Right. Right? You want to occupy something, why don't you occupy the Beverly Center, right? Or occupy Hollywood Boulevard.
Occupy Pink's Hot Dogs. You'll see riots.
If they try to prevent me from going to the Dairy Queen in the Beverly Center, then that's when I'll turn against
There's hell to pay.
Yeah.
Okay. I understand. You can't cross some lines. That's when some people say just wait. Anyway, so here
become Republican.
The greed has gotten so bad on Wall Street. Gordon Gekko actually called me to tell me about it. Yes.
Jimmy, this is Gordon Gekko from the movie Wall Street. That's right. You've got fictional characters calling into your show now. It's come to that. I mean, really, how often can Bill O'Reilly be drunk dialing you? Anyway, I wanted to take a quick break from insider trading and cheating on my wife to give you a ring on my humorously oversized cell phone. I'm famous for saying that greed is good. Technically, I said greed, for lack of a better word, is good. There's a lot of film nerd nitpickers out there. I learned that from the trivia page for Wall Street on IMDb.com. But either way, it's a sentiment that I still hold dear. Self-interest is the engine that drives our economy, our society, our culture. I mean, even a lefty like you has to admit that. You are driven by self-interest yourself, Jimmy Dore. Admit it. I mean, it's not as if you do a podcast, a radio show, and your own monthly live show all for free, is it? But I had an epiphany the other day in my office while I was getting a blowjob from my secretary and watching my dot matrix printer print green and white papers with financial number thingies on it. Greedy is the word for Wall Street people like me in 1987. However, greedy is not even close to sufficient to describe Wall Street in 2008. It'd be like calling Ann Coulter a jerk. There's got to be a stronger word. Sure, we were greedy, but we just wanted to make insanely large amounts of money. It didn't occur to us to try to accumulate all money. I mean, we weren't psychopaths. Sure, we turned our noses up at the bridge and tunnel schlubs who couldn't afford to eat where we ate. But at least we understood that we had to pay a few taxes here and there, so at least there would be bridges and tunnels to provide transportation for people that we turned our noses up at. And all we wanted to do was sneer at the have-nots, not masturbate, while thinking about the prospect of them and their families being tossed into an unmarked grave. That's a little beyond greedy, don't you think? People used to ask me, Gordon, how much money do you need? How many yachts can you really use? I used to laugh at that question, Jimmy. But now I find myself asking the Lloyd Bank Fines of the world, how many man-made islands off the coast of Dubai, built completely from a spiral network of marinas designed to house a navy of yachts, can you really use? A bad sign when we have to start quantifying wealth in terms of fractals. I guess what I'm saying is this. Gordon Gekko finds himself having sympathy, for lack of a better word, for the Occupy Wall Street movement. Sure, they're a bunch of smelly drum circle playing patchouli monkeys, but they have a point. When the game is rigged so blatantly in my favor, they have no chance, which is simply no fun for me and my ilk. For Gordon Gekko, it's all about the game. All right, Jimmy, I got to run. I'm meeting Ivan Boesky and Michael Milliken over at the Tavern on the Green for a few highballs. We've got a table reserved for us in the cigar room under Bleeding Heart Socialists. Ciao, baby.